Hi everybody, it's Stewart Swerdlow.
And Janet Diane Moria Swerdlow.
And this is the Expansions News Podcast for the very first week of October 2017. And unfortunately, as you know, the big news has been the shooting in Las Vegas. And I have some clues about what happened on that October 1st date. And I will read them to you. And now these are bits of information from conventional media, which I have then analyzed and told you my clues about why this is not exactly the way they say it happened. Did people die? Absolutely. People are dead. Was it that one shooter? Absolutely not. And let me give you my clues, line by line. These are in no specific order, but I'm going to tell you why I feel the way I do. And after I read all of these, I think you'll feel the same way. And I know you have also.
I have some things I'm not sure what you have in yours versus.
So first of all, one thing that really stood out to me is that all of the numbers related to this terrible incident are related to the number 5. When you add up the number of people killed, the number of people wounded, the hotel room number, the floor of the hotel, the number of weapons that the person had in the room, they all add up to the number 5. And I thought, 5, 5, 5, what is 5? You know, in hyperspace, 5 is medium green, it's healing, it's Christ figure. But 5 is a pentagram. It's a
pentagram.
Demonic.
5-pointed star.
Yes, yes. So that's one thing to keep in mind. And then also remember, for a bit of time, they said the number was 58 or 13. Which is also a big Illuminati number. And then suddenly they added one more, made it 59, 14, 1 plus 4, 5. Then, the name of the person, Stephen Paddock. Paddock, that's where you keep animals. And interestingly, many of the people who were witnesses to this event said it was like shooting animals in a paddock or in a corral. That's not an accident. These people were shot in a contained area. Then, here's something 5. Surrounded by this area in Las Vegas is a pyramid, an obelisk, a sphinx, the Mandalay Hotel, which is shaped like wings, and the area of the shooting, 5. When you put them together, it creates a pentagram. Then I looked at the hotel itself. Now, interestingly, and I was talking about this earlier before, many years ago, I think it was 6 years ago, when I did that television show with Jesse Ventura, I was in the Mandalay Hotel, and my room faced the same location. When I saw that view from the room, I was like, hey, I have seen that room. And yes, it was in this hotel. Very interestingly. And then I shot my show in the...
You shot?
Filmed in that Pyramid Hotel,
Luxor,
which is just very close by. So it was very, very strange for me. So I said, what about the name? There's a reason why they put Mandalay Bay. Why Mandalay Bay? Drop the Y and you get the word mandala. So I have mandala plus Y, which is, as we know in hyperspace, the symbol for the reptilian brainstem, plus bay, water. So if you take a mandala, the reptilian brainstem and water, what is it? What lives in that? Alligator, crocodile. Reptilian energy here. I also know that Las Vegas is one of the 72 astral centers that are being opened by the Illuminati globally. And I think we spoke about this in our September class. I will go more into it in our January class in 2018, but there are 72 places on the earth, Las Vegas being one of them, astral centers that are being opened up for entities to come through. And when they come through, or to make them come through, there is a death ritual. Now, here's something also very interesting. Before the Las Vegas event, the most heinous or the biggest group shooting, public shooting in the United States took place in the gay nightclub in Orlando. But apparently the shooter's family lives in Orlando. So there's a connection to the second now largest shooting in U.S. history, and the first, Las Vegas and Orlando. They are claiming, of course, that the father of this shooter was a bank robber who was wanted in the 1970s for robbing banks, escaping from prison, etc. So that already puts him in a criminal mindset, even though he had nothing to do with it. What also is very interesting, and this was reported on the news for a bit of time and then it's now off the news, that people reported at the venue that there was a woman who was being ejected for some reason from the venue. I don't know why she was being thrown out. And she kept telling people, hey, you're all going to die soon. You're all going to die. You can go into that. Now, the singer, Jason Aldean, I used to be interested in country music years ago, and I haven't been in a long time, but this name Aldean, in ancient, or in Hebrew, Al means God, Din means judge. So Aldean means God judges. Interesting name for that. The shooting, numerologically, and we know that the year 2017, if you add up the numbers, it's a 10. It happened on 10/1/10. But October, octo, Latin, 8. Originally, October was the 8th month, not the 10th. So if you go to the ancient numerology for October, it's 8 plus 1 plus 10, which is a 19, the number of the mother of darkness. Okay, a lot of layers here. Here's the next thing. How could one man kill and wound so many people so quickly? They said he was shooting for approximately 9 minutes. I want you to think about this. 9 minutes from 2 different far apart windows, supposedly. In 9 minutes, he killed 59 people and wounded 527 people. So that's over close to 600 people in 9 minutes. That's not physically possible. It's not physically possible, especially going from window to window. So something's wrong with that story. There were other shooters involved, and many witnesses said that the bullets came from many different directions. And by the way, why did it take the police 72 minutes to figure out where he was? If he broke the windows, people, first of all, these are bulletproof, heavy glass windows on the 32nd floor, so people can't fall through them, right? That would take quite an effort to break through them. You would hear that. Glass would fall on the ground instantly. Did anyone notice that, hey, there's glass falling on the ground? We hear, why it takes 7 minutes? They could look up. The building was lit up. You could see where the frick he was. It should not have taken 72 minutes to get there. The family said, his family said, he was a multi-millionaire and not connected to any religion, group, or organization. And I know that ISIS claimed that he converted to Islam months ago. Now listen, ISIS, if someone has a hangnail in Oklahoma, ISIS claims responsibility for it. Okay? If you have gas, ISIS will say they did that to you. So what they say is a bunch of malarkey. Interesting other symbols. On the same day, O.J. Simpson was released from prison in Las Vegas. And we have the death, remember Hollywood, deaths come in 3. They're ritualistic. Hugh Hefner, Monty Hall, and Tom Petty, all Hollywood deaths on the same time period, and all of these men were connected to sex and drugs. Astral stuff. They said a shooter committed suicide. Now, did you see the picture of his body? Picture of his body's on the major news services. They don't show you his face. They just show you the left side of his waist down to his leg with some kind of metallic object strategically placed along his left leg, and his body straight out. If he committed suicide, why would his body be lying flat down like it was placed, and why would objects be strategically placed upon his left leg? Doesn't make sense. That's not how you commit suicide. That's not how it looks.
It's not?
No, you would fall down and you were in an odd position. You don't like straight down like you're in a morgue. So something was very strange with that. Housekeepers never noticed anything odd in the room. Supposedly he had 23 weapons plus ammunition in the room, and they never noticed it. He had been there days before. He left no note or manifesto. His Asian girlfriend, who's Filipino but apparently also lived in Australia, had no clue. And supposedly there was another woman in the room with him, and his bills, food bills, what do you call them? Not bar bills, but when you sign for room service, showed like there were 2 meals and 2 drinks and two of everything. Who was with him? And how did he get that particular room? Did he say, I want room blah blah blah?
Well, if he was a multimillionaire, he might have.
You know, why did he get that particular room? Why didn't that raise a suspicion? Here's another weird thing, and this happens a lot in all these kind of situations. The next day, pictures of all the victims were on the news with all their life stories, and they were all like posed and this way, and all like they would had taken pictures that were placed on the news. Now, quite honestly, God forbid something happens to someone in your family, a loved one. Are you gonna send a good picture to the news? Like, here's my so and so, here's his life story. Then, within hours, you're not gonna do that. You're grieving. How did the news get all these pictures from all these people and all their life stories? Instantly. Something's up with that, people. Now, here's the other interesting thing. The stage of this country and western venue, the stage had been lit up, and then when the shooting started, they turned the lights off. But then, after a few moments, they turned the lights back on, so the shooter had light to see who they were shooting. Why didn't they leave the lights off?
Maybe that's so that people could escape.
No, they wanted people, the shooters, the sharpshooters who were stationed all around, they wanted to show them where they could shoot. That's what. Now, authorities claim, here's another interesting thing, that he filmed himself shooting the crowd. He put cameras up. Why would he do that? Why?
I don't even know where he could position if he was on the 32nd floor.
Well, no, in his room. But they said they put a camera in the hallway to watch the hallway. And nobody saw this. Like, people walking by like, hello, there's a camera on here. But get this. The camera was supposedly on a service table, like room service. So why would I put a camera on a service table that someone could just wheel it away?
Doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't make any sense. This is a BS story, people. Yes, people were killed. Yes, there was a shooting, but that's not what the news is telling you. This is a setup by the Illuminati. So supposedly he broke 2 heavy, thick windows in his room. No one heard the glass shatter. No one saw the glass fall to the ground. The police took over an hour to figure out where he was. Really? I think the Las Vegas police should be fired. So, again, it's impossible to kill 59 people and wound 527 people in 9 minutes, having to change guns, go to different windows. It's not possible. He must have been a superhero. They said he wired $100,000 to his girlfriend in the Philippines the week before. And, of course, we know that any transfer from the United States to any country that's over 10,000 has to be investigated. This is 10 times that amount. The bank said, hey, why are you doing this and where did it come from? That's what they would do to you if you did that. I wish you were able to $100,000. The police pictures showed in his hotel room the ammunition neatly stacked on the hotel room floor. Not used, neatly stacked on the hotel room floor. But it also showed the mess on the floor from the food, etc. So why would he be neat with his ammunition and be a pig with the food leftovers? Something not right, people. And so, and his family said, and everyone who knew him said, he was a nice guy, he was actually boring. No possible way a person like this could do such a thing. And so the news had to cover this. So they said, well, 4 months ago, he was placed on antidepressants, and that could make you violent. Okay, he's a multi-millionaire. Why would he need antidepressants? Because he has too much money? Made him sad?
People can have problems when they have a lot of money.
But then it said that this girlfriend, that he sent her to the Philippines because he found a cheap ticket online. He's a multi-freaking-millionaire. What does he care about the cost of a ticket?
So they're saying that woman, the girlfriend, was gone during the
Yeah,
shoot.
she was in the Philippines. She had no idea, and he should know why he sent her. And so he said, well, I found cheap tickets, go. He's a millionaire. He should pay for the whole freaking plane for her to go. Something's wrong with the story, people, and I hope that you realize that what the news is telling you is not true.
Well, I have some more additional information, which you might find interesting, which I don't know if you saw it or not. But when you were talking about the woman who was at the concert,
yes,
she said that she was celebrating her 21st birthday.
Oh, she said that?
Yeah, they gave her a name here. In
the one who said everyone's going to die?
No.
Oh.
The woman who heard this happening. She was celebrating her 21st birthday.
Okay.
And she said that she and her friends witnessed security escort a fellow female concert goer from the event after she was heard telling members of the crowd that they were going to die.
I see.
She claims nearly 45 minutes before the shooting broke out. Then she goes on to say she saw security remove a man and a woman from the concert after they told attendees they would die tonight.
That's interesting.
And it was interesting because they said this woman who they removed pushed her way forward into the concert venue into the front row. So if she thought people were going to die, why would she be in the front row?
Because she's a programmed slave.
I don't know. And then it said she started messing with another lady and told us we were all going to die. And then she was escorted out.
Remember what I said to you. The Illuminati always tell you what they're going to do.
Well, and then it said that they escorted a woman and a man. So something else, somebody knew something.
Of course.
And then it goes on. I found this was another article. Now, this is how supposedly they identified the man. That there was a man named Chris Bethel, which I thought was an interesting name. Bethel.
Bethel means the house of God.
And Christian, Christ.
Christian house of God.
Who was supposedly an Army vet from Texas, was in Las Vegas for an IT conference when he says he heard the familiar sound of gunfire ringing out near his 29th floor room. That's an 11.
In the Mandalay Bay Hotel.
Yes. So then he says, and this was interesting, he says it never stops, seconds go by, minutes go by, rounds are going, changing weapons, changing calibers. You can hear the difference in the gunshots of the different rifles that he's shooting.
In 9 minutes.
Exactly. So then he said he saw the authorities scrambling on the ground. He realized they were in the wrong location. So remember, all of this now, the guy's still shooting. This guy, our friend Chris Bethel, tried to call 911. So why that didn't respond, I don't know. Then he tried to contact the front desk, and nobody answered there, he's claiming. So then he got in touch with the LA Police Department.
Las Vegas.
Las Vegas Police Department. And the issue is, once you get a hold of a police department, they're not going to, it takes a second for them to get your call and get somewhere. And then he helped lead them to the 32nd floor.
He did?
That's what he's claiming. So in this 9 minutes while this guy's shooting, this guy did all this stuff, got the police there, and led them to the 32nd floor.
But they waited another hour to get it break out.
I don't know, because your story says it took them an hour.
Listen, this guy was dead long before that. Nothing ever happened. They staged the room. They staged everything. They broke the windows silently so that nobody would know that they were broken. And then they waited until the end possible time before the police were able to come.
And then this man claims that on Facebook, he was heading back to Texas and he was going to take a break from social media, which tells me he's like disappearing because he probably never existed to start with. So you can't find him, right? Now, that's the first story. Next story is about another U.S. veteran. This time, Iraq veteran Taylor Winston, who's 29 years old. Now, this other guy was on the 29th floor. This guy's 29 years old. He claims he sprang into action to help take people to the hospital during this attack. Now, what's interesting to me is he was telling us about how the shots got louder and louder, closer to us, saw people getting hit, blah, blah. He got to the fence, and then he threw people over. He jumped over, and guess what? He saw a field of trucks. So he tested his luck to see if any of them had the keys in, and the very first one just happened to have the keys. And he got 30 people to the hospital.
By himself in one truck?
He said he made several trips, but he said between 20 and 30 people. But my issue is, again, this also sounds like a very odd story. And then, moving along to the family of the supposed shooters, this Stephen Paddock, who was 64, that's another 10.
That's a 10.
41 plus 0 is a 10.
Double new beginning for the Illuminati.
And what was interesting is they interviewed, of course, the family of the supposed shooter, who was stunned. Now, this was stunned me. The brother, Eric Paddock, said, Mars just fell into the Earth.
Yes, but I also heard what he said, an asteroid fell.
Okay, well, this particular quote, it's hard to tell. We know from the news itself and being involved in a lot of fake news against us, we know that what we say sometimes isn't always reported. So who knows if anything was said. But it was interesting this was put out there. Mars just fell into the Earth. So that's what I have on that story.
Well, people, this is a global Illuminati ritual. This, and I remember, if you read my article October 1st, before this happened, I said October's going to see.
It's on your blog, on our membership site. Our members
these
are
things
first
were going
to
to
know.
happen, and there it is, boom, the first day. Red October.
Yeah.
This is just the beginning.
Bloodbath.
Just the beginning. It's 100 years since the Bolshevik Revolution. And I know about that stuff.
Another one.
Briefly on other news. The province of Catalonia in Spain voted 90% and more to separate from Spain. Now, Catalonia is an area where Barcelona is, between Spain and France. They speak a different language, they have a different culture.
Is this the Basque people?
No.
This is different.
This is Catalonia. And so the EU is against it. So people, why was the EU promoting the separation of Kosovo from Serbia, which is a totally different culture from Serbia, but they're against separation of Catalonia from Spain? And by the way, I just read where Catalonia said that they are going to separate whether Spain likes it or not, so we're going to see another Spanish Civil War. And that's not going to be pretty. Interestingly, just days before, the Kurds voted 95% to become independent from Iraq. So I personally support Kurdish independence because they are not the Arab Muslims that you see in Iraq and other places. They need independence. The people in Catalonia are also separate from the culture of Spain. They were forced into it, just like Italy is a fake country of all these countries that were forced together. Lombardia and Piemonte and all these places, Venetia. They should be separate. Sicilia, all these places.
They speak different languages there.
Yes, so this is going to be a big incident, people. Trump and Melania are in Puerto Rico I don't know if you have a story about this. Trump said that they're lucky that they didn't have a real catastrophe like the people had in Katrina.
I heard about it, but I didn't report that.
Really? Do you have eyes in your stupid blonde head? An orange head. And of course they had Melania wearing they're calling it now catastrophe heels. Which she wore to Texas, Florida, and now Puerto Rico. You know, it's like really. Okay. So, and you know what he did? He's in a crowd of people in Puerto Rico trying to help, and he's taking rolls of paper towels and throwing them, it's on a video, throwing it like they were animals in a zoo, and he's throwing treats at the animals in the zoo.
Well, it's interesting. Now, I have to ask this to our audience, of those of you who have people in Puerto Rico or there, because we have readers all over the world. There was somebody that posted on your Facebook page saying that they are in Puerto Rico and they were getting help and that all the news we were reading was a lie. So we don't know who's telling the truth, so let us know.
Listen, they got hit by a big hurricane. There's a lot of damage.
Yeah, but but somebody there is saying we are getting help.
They may be getting help, but you know what? They're not getting enough help.
No, we don't know.
And Trump is just there for show.
That much we know.
You know, and throwing paper towel. I mean,
that's just.
Why did they let him? Why didn't the Puerto Ricans like attack him for that?
That's just
seriously.
As I'm sure it's just a.
Anyway, back on the mainland, terrible stories about global warming. The western U.S. had the worst blizzard ever in October, just like now, happening. Okay, this is global warming, people. Blizzard conditions in Montana, Idaho, Colorado, Wyoming, and so on. Even your homeland, Washington.
Washington State.
State, yeah. And guess what? I saw the winter prediction for the United States. Guess what they predicted for our area in Great Lakes?
Hard to tell.
Get snow and ice. Wow, that's unusual. That's a really strange prediction. Snow and ice for Michigan in the winter? I'm shocked.
Okay.
Go on.
My turn? All right. So, after the shooting in Las Vegas story, the other thing that's been going on all over the news is this stuff with the NFL.
Oh, yes.
Now, I'm not an NFL fan.
You're not?
I'm not a sports fan.
You're always throwing footballs at me.
I am not a sports fan. So I kind of have been ignoring this story,
Try to tackle me all the time.
Figuring that it will go, you like that. Figuring that it will go away. But it hasn't gone away. And so I started doing some research on that this last weekend. And the thing that came to me to start with, which and I realize actually does tie in with the Las Vegas story, is you remember that, of course, Trump is best known for his television show where he pointed at everybody
You're
and
fired.
He said, that's right, you're fired. So what is a gun? A gun is firepower, isn't it? So that is a trigger for people. And he's been practicing and imprinting in your mind for how long to do things that involve fire. Okay, so you're fired. Now, that happened to make me think of a story I heard many years ago, and I don't know if it's true, of course, or not, but this is what I had read at the time. I was impressed that a man from India was told that U.S. companies were firing their employees. And he thought that's horrible, that they're burning their people. Okay, because, get it? Because there are many layers, and when the Illuminati or the global handlers do their global rituals, they have many, many layers, which it is our responsibility to interpret.
But are you going to talk about going down on one knee?
Yes, I'm talking about all of that stuff because it's all involved.
Mm-hmm.
So we know that fire has more than one connotation. It has to do with gunpowder. That's firepower. Has guns to do with it. And we also talk about the burning. Now, people are burning their NFL paraphernalia, which I'm going to talk about. And also, this was the weirdest thing to me when I first started reading it, which was one reason why I ignored it, was about people going down on one knee to protest.
Right.
Because when you go down on one knee, that
That's a sign of
symbolizes
respect.
and fealty, loyalty.
You're praying.
All of that. So why are they doing that to protest? Now, to me, protest might be like turning your back on the flag
Right, or
or
not
something.
show up at all.
Right, but to get down on one knee makes no sense.
It makes no sense.
And now they're calling that taking the knee. So I think that's really silly. So I want to kind of run through my stories as I tell you what I have here. So first of all, Trump said that it's very important for the NFL players to stand for the national anthem. And then it goes on, this article that this gesture, the symbolic gesture began during the traditional playing of the Star-Spangled Banner by some African American. I have a problem with that term, as you know.
They're black people, okay?
All right, like we're white people.
Right. I'm not European American. I'm a white
Although
person.
I do have black blood in me.
You are black.
I have some sub-Saharan in me. Africa. Anyway,
She
so
likes
it was adopted by... And fried chicken and cornbread.
That's true. I don't care if it's racist. It's
and
true.
I was raised with fried cornbread, and I love it.
That's right.
And I love all that. I love fried Southern food. And you can serve that to me anytime.
Let's go sing spirituals right now.
Okay, so the Star-Spangled Banner was adopted by some African-American players over the last year to protest against racial disparities in the criminal justice system. So Trump is telling he wants the league to ban players from kneeling in protest because we want to get this, make sure everybody hears about this, right? So he says that the NFL has all sorts of rules. The only way out for them is to set a rule: you can't kneel. Then it goes on. Listen to this one, and then he continued the crusade.
Aha!
There's your word, the crusade, imprinting that in your subconscious, drawing a rebuke from the NFL after he said football team owners are afraid of their players. Now then, after that, then we had coaches, support staff, and even owners joining teams. And silent support, again, by kneeling, which I think is odd.
What are they protesting? I don't understand.
They're protesting now. It started out by being a racial thing. Now they're protesting it, just the U.S. in general and our policies. which I think is silly. But remember, monkey see, monkey do, right? So are they linked arms or staying off the field during the anthem? And then, now this was really beyond bizarro. Okay, 3 NFL players kneeled for the U.S. national anthem and stood for the British anthem during the Saints-Dolphins London game. Now, how strange is that?
Especially since Britain owns the United States.
But why would you stand for the British national anthem and kneel to the U.S.?
Because these people are brain dead and they have no idea what they're doing.
And so some of them stood for God Save the Queen and kneeled during Star Spangled. It makes no sense, honestly. If they're kneeling,
I'm sure the Queen was amused.
The issue is they don't even know why they're kneeling.
They don't know. They're stupid people.
Kneeling means a sign of fidelity,
yes,
fealty,
right.
loyalty. So
exactly.
they're kneeling to the flag. Supposedly they're protesting. Now moving along, burn the NFL. Remember I told you about Trump and you're fired. Now this is all over. Burn the NFL.
How can you do that?
Here's a man named Robert Smith burned more than $1,000 worth of Pittsburgh Steelers merchandise.
Well, that's silly.
That's because the Steelers didn't participate in the anthem. So he poured lighter fluid on the gear, and he said, I care about our country, I care about our freedom. So he's imprinting you to care about your freedom and burn. Burn things.
How's that going to change
Civil
anything?
unrest. It does nothing but it imprints people. If I'm unhappy, I burn. Now we have the Baltimore Ravens fans, I guess ex-fans, stood arm in arm, the Ravens, I guess, stood arm in arm during the anthem. So these fans decided to protest because some of them chose to kneel, the Ravens. So one self-described, so they burned their things. Then one self-described Seattle Seahawks fan trashed his jersey on fire in a trash can. And a Swansea man hosted a jersey burning party in response to the recent protest by the New England Patriots. He said after 20 members of the team took a knee, I think that just sounds so stupid, during a national anthem against the Houston Texans, more than 100 people turned out to support this guy and burn their stuff. So they sang America the Beautiful, said the Pledge of Allegiance, tossed the Patriot gear into the fire, and burned. So they're burning things. And now this, again, was even more stupid. Here's 2 singers who performed the Star-Spangled Banner. They sang, and then they took a knee. Now, why would you do that? Why would you sing a song that you say you're protesting, and then you kneel? You know, to me, again, they're messing with your mind. You know, you kneel out of respect.
Like I said, because there is no more United States. It's gone.
And now here's also interesting, because this is now a quote from Trump during a rally in Alabama.
Oh, my.
Quote, wouldn't you love to see one of these NFL owners, when somebody disrespects our flag, to say, get that son of a B off the field right now, he's fired. So what are they going to do next, burn people? He's fired, remember that. And then as I was just going through some of this research, I found an article called Liar, Liar, Pants on Fire. And then they have to explain why we use that terminology. But, you know, I haven't heard that term since I was a little girl, a few years ago. Right? So now we've got that out. So, liar, liar, pants on fire. So they're teaching you to burn for protesting about your civil rights. And now, of course, we have to have the Nazi influence, right? A Steelers fan painted a red swastika on the team flag because the NFL protest made him angry. Then he had, of course, had to apologize. And, of course, they flashed this all over the news. And it says the swastika, a symbol of hate, should be worn by all NFL players who do not stand for our nation's flag and anthem. So are they going to put the swastika on them like
First
they did
of all, it's not a symbol of hate. It's an ancient Hebrew, Hindu,
Sanskrit.
Buddhist symbol.
It means good fortune or well-being. And it's to this day, it's still a sacred symbol in Hinduism, Buddhism, and Jainism. Jainism? So I thought all of that was very interesting, and then I was finding this, that Nike has gotten into the fray.
Of course they have.
And issued a statement, and it said, quote, Nike supports athletes and their right to freedom of expression on issues that are of great importance to our society, unquote. Okay, so where this burning stuff is going to go, I'm telling you now, it's not going to stop.
No.
We're talking about civil unrest, civil protests.
I told you it'd be civil war, didn't I?
And now, speaking of Trump, Ben Carson, Now this I read on something else while I was doing my research, so I just happened to check this article out. So I'm not going to tell you a lot of details, but I will tell you there are a lot of articles out there about Ben Carson saying that there are 2 Trumps and he endorses one.
Yeah, that was interesting.
And there was other research which I'm going to continue to do on that, but that one person was saying I think if he wears a red tie it's the real one and a blue tie it's the fake one. I have to go back and read that, but I'm pretty sure that's what they said. So anyway, interesting. Okay, so some quick geographical news. The Vanuatu volcano has been erupting and polluting the island's water sources, leaving thousands of people in need of safe drinking water. So this was called Dunkirk-style evacuation as Vanuatu volcano pollutes drinking water. So it's interesting they had to throw out that movie Dunkirk in there. And it said crowds of islanders from at least 3 evacuation points on the island have begun boarding a flotilla of ships, including ferries, canoes, and commercial vessels for the safety of surrounding islands. And the Vanuatu government wants all, guess number again, 11,000, there's our 11, evacuated by October 6th.
Is that not fast enough?
I don't know. Anyway, and then on Pope Francis.
Oh yes, the Pope.
This was very interesting because he says, I didn't know that there's a World Day of Social Communications to do. The Catholic Church has a World Day of Social Communications. In case you're wondering, the next one will be celebrated on May 13. There's a 13. And the message will be released on January 24th, which is the feast of St. Francis de Sales, a patron of journalists.
But that's also my mother's birthday.
Yes.
Or was.
Yes. Anyway, what's interesting about this is he says the theme will be about fake news and journalism for peace. The Pope now is going to write about fake news. And he's the one that distorts fake news.
He's the one that writes the fake news.
What's interesting is he says that fake news contributes to generating and nurturing a strong polarization of opinions. A distortion of facts can have repercussions at the level of individual and collective behavior. Now this is what's interesting. Francis said in an interview last year that media that focus on scandals and spread fake news to smear politicians risk becoming like people who have a morbid fascination with excrement. Now,
he must be watching your podcast.
The reason that this caught my eye, not only the fake news stuff, when I read this, I thought, do you remember not too long ago they were showing people when they were protesting that they were pooping on things? Do you remember that?
I don't want to.
I think that might have even been about a year ago. It's been a while. So, and I also talked to you about this before, that there are some people who get sexual satisfaction from pooping on each other. So here's the Pope talking about it, and I thought that was very interesting. So I'm wondering, are we going to see more people pooping to protest the Pope?
Oh my goodness. And then setting it on fire.
Yeah, that could happen. And speaking of the Pope, now this was also interesting. You might have insight on this one. He's now wearing an ID bracelet in appeal for help for the migrants.
Yeah, why don't he open up the freaking Vatican with empty rooms for them?
He's wearing this plastic yellow bracelet that he claims was given to him by an African refugee, which I don't think is going to happen, because if that guy doesn't have his bracelet on...
He'd be like, oh, I don't want this from an African refugee.
No, if the African refugee gives his bracelet away, then he's not going to have any food or water or a place to sleep or anything.
No, plus it's yellow, like the Jews used to wear the yellow armbands in Nazi Germany.
And then his number was 3900003.
The African immigrant?
Yep. So we have a 15. But all those threes, and there's 600,000 impoverished migrants. More than 13,000 have died trying to cross the Mediterranean. There's your number 13. So anyway, he's trying to call more attention, so he's wearing this yellow bracelet. So
he's such an idiot.
And the other thing, he upset the Jewish community because he compared the refugee camps to the concentration camps. So,
a little bit different.
A little bit different.
That Pope is full of poop.
He is.
He's a poopy Pope.
He is. He might be having stuff burned. Anyway, and then moving along to the presidency again. Here we have a call for Oprah Winfrey in 2020 to challenge Trump. Now this was an editorial. And this person wrote, she's uniquely positioned.
I should do it.
Listen to this. If you need to set a thief to catch a thief, you need a star, pentagram, a grand, outsized, fearless star whom Trump can neither intimidate nor outshine. To catch a star. We're through the looking glass here. That's mirror programming,
Right.
looking glass. America is discarding old approaches in politics. That means we're going to sling, stuff at each
Poopies.
other. Democrats will have to do the same to match the mood to the moment. And here's Oprah Winfrey now. She's the mirror image of Trump. Okay, remember mirror programming, I
She
just said.
is. They look so much alike.
She's female, he's male. She's America's generous aunt. He's America's crazy uncle. She's black, he's white. She's liberal. We don't know who he is.
And ivory. Okay, I'll see.
He's rich, she's rich. Now this one, of course, is not true. She made her $3 billion herself with
$3 billion?
with no controversy. No, she's an Illuminati puppet. And if you'll remember, I have reported that she is actually related to Trump and to the Bushes and to all the other presidents who are related to each
She
other.
never got married to Stewart.
Probably because she's gay.
No.
Or what do they call it? Lesbian if you're female? I'm not sure.
That maybe she wants to marry a couch or a car or
That
something.
could be. Or
Or
cat.
maybe she decided she's white one day and we have to accept that.
That might be. Anyway, it claims she's the embodiment of the American dream. She
is?
That's what they're claiming this article.
I wouldn't want to look like her. That'd be a nightmare.
He got famous from television, and so did she, but she's more famous and more successful. I don't know about that.
I don't think so.
And it talked about how she
Who
turned...
said this?
This is this person's opinion, but the thing is they wrote about this, and then she retweeted this over and over and over again.
Oprah?
Oprah did. So, let me just finish what this person said, which, again, I think is interesting. She turned her show into a parade of the positive with happy celebrity interactions and relentless guidance toward self-actualization, which means, here's a facade now. It's a parade, right? She assumed the mantle of book publishing savior, more programming, with her monthly novel selection. Then she became a magazine mogul, and then she became the manager of an entire cable network named for her, with her name spelled backwards.
Oh,
No.
Harpo.
Harpo, which is her name backwards, which is the mirror image of Oprah, which is more programming for
I
you.
think maybe she's really a man.
Now, speaking of celebrities, Lisa Ling, who is
Lisa Ling.
now a journalist, she spontaneously disrobes as part of a sex
Yes.
therapy session in her first episode, This Is Life with Lisa Ling.
Right.
So I will tell you, there's no such thing as spontaneousness on television. It all has to be approved by their sponsors.
It's all for sensationalism.
Yes, so again,
And they arrange it,
and the monkey
as we well know.
Monkey do, and she does this in front of a mirror, so there's more mirror programming. So they're telling you, they're activating mirror programming everywhere. And I had mentioned about the Mars comment that this brother of the Las Vegas supposed shooter said about Mars. Okay, well now Mars is all over the news again. That on September 12th, NASA's MAVEN spacecraft spotted an aurora covering a massive chunk of Mars, lighting up Mars like a light bulb.
I wonder what that was.
They're going to say more than what comes out of the inner Earth here.
No.
Yes. And then NASA is teaming up with Russia to put a new space station near the moon.
So they're not such enemies then.
Yeah, that's why, isn't that interesting, right? So we can fight them on the ground, but we can be buddies up in space, supposedly. So apparently they signed an agreement to venture into deep space, with the first conceptual goal being a deep space gateway.
Ooh.
Now, we haven't heard that terminology come out before.
That sounds like a sci-fi film.
Yeah, it said that could be built as soon as the 2020s, and in addition to Russia and the U.S., Canada, Japan, and the European Space Agency are all interested in the project, and since they're already on the ISS or International Space Station, not a problem. Plus, private spaceflight companies are also going to be involved. So,
ISS is ISIS with one eye.
yes, we know that. Which is watching you, right? The one eye that's watching you. Then, the United Arab Emirates plans to build a Martian city on Earth.
Yeah, I saw that one.
Because
it kind of looks like Mars.
Well, they said that first, before they build it on Earth, or on Mars, I mean, they have to build it on the Earth. So they launched the Mars Science City project. It's going to be a 1.9 million square foot city, and it will provide a playground for engineers to prototype future Martian buildings and construction techniques, which will simultaneously be creating labs capable of simulating various aspects of the red planet's environment. The United Arab Emirates hopes to attract the best scientific minds from around the world, and they plan to have a team that's dedicated to living in this Mars simulation city for 1 year. So Mars is here to stay.
Well, if they treat people like they do on Emirates First Class, I'd sign up for that.
Me too. From what I hear, I've never been on it, but it sounds fantastic. I know. I would never want to get off.
I didn't. They had to drag me off, actually.
Now, I've been telling you about pedophilia.
Yes.
And I've been telling you how they're putting it on. Now, you know in France, and I've told you about this before, that how many years older is that wife of their president?
A lot.
And she met him when he was like 15 or something,
yeah,
right?
She's
and
a pedophile.
yeah, and she divorced her husband and her kids to go live with this 15-year-old kid.
Yeah,
okay.
He needed a lot of red wine after that one.
So, does it surprise you that in France, that there was a ruling by their court where they claim that an 11-year-old girl consented to sexual relations with a 28-year-old man?
Uh-huh. Oh, was he Arab?
No. I don't think so. They didn't give his name. I don't know what his ethnicity was, but that is not important.
Ethnicity?
But the point being is that in France, they are claiming that an 11-year-old girl consented to sexual relations with a 28-year-old man.
It's France.
It said that this case ignited outrage from children's rights groups. And apparently the girl said she was lured from a park near Paris into his apartment because he promised to teach her how to kiss. So when they arrived at the building, they had sexual intercourse in a stairwell. This man is
nobody saw that.
This man is a father of 2, and he claims they met the girl twice. He also says the girl knew what she was doing because she sent him pictures of herself.
11 years old.
11 years old.
When I was 11, I didn't even know what the names of certain parts were.
I knew that much.
Yeah, because you were such a aggressive person, well advanced.
You had a winky.
You knew?
And yes, I know. Doesn't everybody, don't all males have a winky?
Yeah.
Okay, so I know the names. You didn't know a name?
Well, I had different names.
You just said you didn't know the name.
I didn't. It was a different name, though.
Well, what's your name?
I'm telling you.
Was it a winky?
No.
Okay, anyway, the girl's parents notified the police after the child told them of the incident. The French prosecutors ruled that the girl had consented to sex with the older man due to lack of evidence.
But still, she's 11. What's the age of consent in France? Like 3 months?
15.
Like, oh, you're a fetus? Yeah, you can have sex.
He was instead charged with sexual abuse of a minor. The girl's attorney said, quote, "We should not even have this debate when it comes to a child. There is a difference between curiosity and consent to a sexual act with a 28-year-old guy in a staircase." But the man's attorney argued that he had explicit consent and was not aware of the girl's age.
You can see she's 11.
It said the girl says she showed the man a notebook which stated her age, and the man says the girl was fearless and sent nude photos of herself over the internet. She's 11, right?
Well, can you prove that?
I don't know. I'm just reading this article. The age of consent or its absence should never be asked for rape victims who are minors. It's truly terrifying to think that an 11-year-old girl is supposed to have the judgment as of an adult, said the leader of a children's rights.
I'd like to meet her parents.
The parents are furious.
Listen, that girl didn't get like that for no reason.
Well, point being is, people don't expect these things to happen, and then when it happens, they're, surprised. So you have to watch your children. She shouldn't have been alone in a Paris park to start with. So
correct.
That's part of it. And then where are your children and what are they doing? And sometimes things can happen relatively quickly, that I know. But again, whoever the parents to start with, that's the first thing. Second thing is pedophilia. I'm sorry, it's coming. And in my opinion, 15-year-old girls are too young to give consent, as are 15-year-old boys. So 18 is borderline.
30-year-olds who are not really able to give consent.
That pedophilia is coming down the pike. You're being imprinted with that every day, and here's just more something to prove that to you. So we have a lot of craziness in the world. In my opinion, the world's always been crazy. It's what it is. So the important thing is to learn to control your own mind before others control it for you. Now, I want to address one thing.
Yes.
I have some people writing in on the comments and other places saying, geez, I'd like to have a membership on your expansion's website someday. I wish I could afford it. Membership on our site is less than $1 a day. We talk about a lot of these things. We tell you on the podcast in more detail. We discuss a lot of things with you there. For for less than $1 per day. If you are interested in learning more and you are interested in supporting us and our research, get a membership, tell your friends to get a membership, get on our blogs and our website, and get the information right away. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, anything else you have to add?
Well, we're leaving. We'll be going to Texas and New Mexico. And so hopefully we'll be able to send some short videos.
We're going to try.
We'll try. And other than that, we will not have a podcast till we get back.
That's right. So if you are a member on our site, you can get me up on stuff. But we're going to try and do some public things if we can. So then you want to remember after that, then you're coming home, and where are you going?
Poland.
All right. So I don't know if your consultations are filled.
I don't know,
but
pretty much.
If you're not, if you want one and you're in that area, or sometimes people fly in from other areas.
Yeah, and then I have a very quick stop in Belgium, and then on to Tampa.
November 5, you're going to be giving a one-day workshop, correct?
Yes, yes.
So check out the website for that. If you're in the Florida area, again, you can get to the Florida area. That's a pretty good deal.
Yes.
Okay, and then the end of December, we have our trip.
Yes,
Is that
Nevis,
correct? Yeah,
Nevis.
the island of Nevis. We have that open to the public, so come and join us on our tour. Check out that information on our website. Remember, it's high season, so if you're going to come, you need to get your airline ticket, and we have a group rate at one of the hotels. All that information is on our
Nevis,
website.
as I told you, is in perfect condition, no damage, it's fine.
Yeah, so if you want to spend your New Year's Eve with us, doing fun things, check us out. Right?
Yes,
Come with us to Nevis. And then, of course, January is our most intense class of the year, right here in St. Joseph, Michigan.
Right, which they're predicting snow and ice for January. What a shock!
Yeah, but what's interesting is last year we didn't have any snow at all.
Well, we did have snow.
No, you didn't let me finish.
Oh.
During our January class.
Oh, during the class we didn't.
Which was always interesting, because there's always a few people who are afraid to come because of the snow and the ice here in Michigan. We have never had a class where people can't get here,
Right.
they can't leave, and they can't get to our classes. So it's always been, even if it snows before, beautiful when people are here. It is very beautiful when it's cold and it's snow on the ground and
That's
it's
'cause you don't shovel
sunshiny.
it.
And I have shoveled plenty of snow.
Oh, really?
Yes, really.
I haven't seen you.
I know, because you're not here when I shovel.
Oh, how interesting.
Yes,
How convenient.
because you're gone. But anyway, and it's very, very beautiful here in Michigan in the wintertime, I will tell you that. And it's not high season here.
No. In the winter, they will pay you to come and stay.
So the flights are relatively inexpensive. The hotels, it's the least expensive time of the year to come.
Yes.
If you need any help, Patricia, customer support at expansions.com. If you want to share a room with somebody, she will help you.
Maybe they want to share a room with me.
If you want to get a payment plan, you snore. Check with Patricia,
really?
amongst other things. So, do not share a room with Stewart.
I am so
You have
hurt.
anything else to say?
Well, not talking to you anymore.
Good. So with that said, we will see you when we see you somewhere in the world. Bye-bye.
Bye for now.